Guys, welcome to the show today. My name is Dr. John, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm completely jazzed today. So, if you're on this show, this is called the D1 Blueprint. It's how elite mindset creates athletes, leaders, and performers. So, today, guys, is going to be storytelling, fun, and exciting. Just got off a show, matter of fact, about a couple hours ago. So, pretty jazzed about this. We're going to rock and roll and we're going to go from there. But before we do start, guys, I want you guys to put inside your name, who you guys are, what do you guys want from this program today. My job is to deliver the best possible way that I can do by telling you stories and everything else. This is right here is part of what we do more or less of the mindset. So what my business do, as you guys realize, we're more of a chief growth officer, executive business coaching. We focus on the mindset part. We focus on the of systemizing the business of savings. We also focus on capital part. But on this part is going to be the fun part. We're going to focus on the mindset part. So here we go. So first and foremost, guys, it isn't a talent problem. It's what's between the ears. Let me explain to you a story, right? So I come from a little city called Michigan City, Indiana, right? 45 miles west of Chicago. So back in my little city, we had in that city back in the day when I was growing up, we had three Mr. Basketballs. No, I'm not one of them, right? We had Delray Brooks, Dan Pombizio, and Charles Macon, right? So I was always asking myself, as being a kid, what makes these guys different? What makes these guys a complete different athlete, right? Compared to also the rest of us, right? We had guys like coming from like Sean Kemp was coming by, Glenn Robinson, Scott Skiles, and the list goes on. So we saw every elite basketball player in that era, right? But then we would see other guys, right? And let's just say his name was Phil. Phil was freaking amazing. He could shoot the ball, he could dunk the ball, he could do everything. I mean, on practice, man, this guy was freaking amazing. But here's the problem. During the game, during the real game, he didn't have it. He froze up. He couldn't play. Now we take this kid in practice again, man. He would play against the Dan Pombizios and the Delray Brooks and the Charles Macon and make these guys look like they're just nothing. When the lights came on, when it was in action, guess what happened? He didn't perform. So what I say is talent is not the problem. It's between his ears. It's conditioning. It was his mindset. But now let's take it backwards, right? This is the same thing that happens to people when they're in business. They could be in sales. They could go to the training programs. We do every well. But then when it comes to a client, they freeze. Or they can't close the deal. Or even in business, right? They're a great business guy, man. You know, they do presentations in front of everybody else. But when it comes to a client around them, what happens? They freeze. So my question that I have for myself and all these scientists, why does that happen? Why do we see back in the day we had the Delray Brooks, man, we had the Dan Pombizios, we had the Charles Macons, who was a freaking all-star. But now Philip, man, Philip was a beast on the basketball court, dunking the ball, doing crazy stuff, shots. But when it got time to a game, Philip did not perform. The sales guy. I train sales guys. And sometimes people, I come on in, we got one guy's doing $30,000 a month, one guy's doing $6,000. Same product, same service, same training. What's the difference? Mindset. Or better yet, though, right? I get another guy, right, in business. We're talking about, man, he can act like a Tony Robbins or a Chet Holmes, and he's just amazing. But then when you get him on stage, he's completely different. Now, I have a question for you. When you guys are in your realm, it could be a D1 athlete, it could be a top sales guy. or a top business guy. And when you can perform and practice, but not perform when it counts, that's when challenges take place. So let me explain to you guys who I am and everything else, so you can understand my story. And understand that when I was a child, I was written off. So again, let me tell you my story. My name is Dr. John Oda. Come from a family of 10. There's 10 of us. So I'm 8 of 10. So I'm a baby boy. I have 6 sisters and 3 brothers, right? So at 6 years old, I went to a private school, right? And, we had kids in the high school, kids in the college. I mean, kids in the grade school. Those me. 6 years old, first grade. And I remember like it was freaking yesterday, right? The nun said, John, I want to see your mom. No, and of course, everybody had this nun. She was the most meanest nun in the whole freaking world, right? But here's what she told me. So, she said she wanted to meet my mom. And, mom working midnight as a nurse. So 2 days later, my mom came in. I was playing with these little crazy toys and stuff, little toys. And what happened literally totally changed my life. So what happened was I playing with the toys and I said, well, do I leave? Because, growing up back in the day, guys, in the 70s, grown folks and young kids, they don't talk. We had to go to a different room when grown folks talk. She says, no, John can stay. He's a cute kid. And I'm like, yeah, she's right, I am. So then she says, Mrs. Oda, John's a good kid, but, he's likable. But we don't think he'll never graduate 8th grade. And we believe he's retarded. No, just because I had a stuttering problem. Wow. Those words that they said struck me like lightning, and I felt the aftershock. And I asked myself, am I cursed? Because all my friends, man, they spoke normal, everything was fine. But when it came to me, it was not the same. I stuttered, I couldn't say my name, I couldn't speak. Now, when I was around my friends, guys, man, I could speak, I could do whatever it took. But just like these athletes, when I was not, I couldn't perform. Couldn't perform at all. So the thing about it is, the nun at 6 years old, she written me off. I was a write-off. I should have been, if my mother and father would have believed them, and thank God they didn't, thank you, mom and dad, rest in peace, I would have been in a group home. Not spreading and not showing people how to completely, totally change the quality of your life when somebody writes you off. And today, that's why I help athletes, I help leaders, I help performers, because I've been there. I've done that. I spent from 6 years old all the way up until 28, 29, maybe 30 years old to try to get over this stuttering issue, trying to get over this performance issue, trying to get over the thing that caused me when I'm around my friends and sometimes family members, man, I could speak freely. When it came down to read, oh my God, it was a different story. It was hurt. It was painful. The kids would laugh at me. Oh, duh, you're so stupid. Kids are cruel, right? So listen to me. I've been there. So today, I'm going to unpackage, right, of how I can help you become that elite athlete, become that great leader, become that phenomenal performer. And if you're playing high school basketball or baseball or basketball, how to go from that, how to go from that level to get a scholarship, to play college ball. Because, so those things, guys, I'm passionate about because I've been there. I've done that. Matter of fact, I even experienced that. As a child, being experienced that you're not. I remember one time I was in 4th grade, right? And I was coming in a little bit early because it was cold outside. I was back in Indiana, right? It was cold as heck. I remember a teacher saying, I don't know if John's going to ever make it in life. He can't even read. Man, he's stupid. And those words, like, oh, like, this is what people actually think about me. I had to work on myself forever to make sure that what people think about me, that's their belief, but it wasn't my belief. So again, guys, we're gonna unpackage this bad boy. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be what I call the three E's. It's gonna be entertaining, educational, and exciting. And the outcome about it is how to be that peak performance. How to be like when I was growing up, guys like Delray Brooks, Dan Pombizio, Charles Mencken, and all the great athletes who came. I mean, we had Sean Kemp. Remember Sean Kemp at, was it 14, 15? He dunked on me. I said, this guy, I mean, we had the Scott Skiles, man. We had the big dog Glenn Robinson. We had all those great guys, man. But they played the exact same way on the, as on the playground, as well they did as in the game, as well they did in as professional. I'm gonna unwrap all that. Fair enough? Yes or yes? All right, guys, let's rock and roll. So, who is this for? It's for athletes. It's for parents. Talent, but inconsistent. So it could be for a athlete who does great on the field, but academics, he's struggling. He's struggling under pressure. He want to be recruited, but he can't. It could be his play is decent or great on the field, and the game is terrible. Or he is lacking schoolwork. He don't know how to close that gap. I got you on this one. Or it could be a business owner, right? They're stuck. They're overwhelmed. They're inconsistent. They don't execute. They know they're capable of more, right? And what I tell people is literally is between the ears, right? If you don't have these right here, it's not going to work. But again, though, I got you on this one. So now check this out, guys. And you guys know this already. 70% of people, right, hit to that next level. So let's even break it down, right? Just say let's hit for college. From kids who spend all this money on these college programs, they get physically fit and X, Y, and Z, which I think is great. Don't get me wrong, right? But you know what they don't work on? The mindset, the mental part. So 70-80% of the kids, they don't play D1, D2, or D3, right? After high school, that's it. They're done. Why? Because they haven't reached that next level. Let's go backwards. A business person, right? Same thing, right? They could do X, Y, and Z, but they can't hit that next level. They can't go mentally to that next part. And there's something blocking them. It could be, being an NLP person, but I created my own NBC. The neuro business conditioning, they don't condition themselves for success. Or else they see themselves as they did in the past, right? And they got this negative self-talk. This negative self-talk is going to give them, of course, that next level. They're not going to reach to that next level. My job is to figure out, okay, where are you at? Let me close the gaps. Let me actually have you go to that next level. Again, I work with parents and teens almost 2/3 of my life. Business owners the exact same way. And I look at their inconsistencies and see where I can strategize to make sure that they hit the point. Does that make sense? Beautiful. Yes or yes? Come on, put a yes up in there. Come on, guys. It's supposed to be a workshop. So put a yes, give them some comments, and if you're by yourself, no one's around, yell it out. No one's going to hear you. But the concept is, guys, we're going to do a workshop, and this is it's supposed to work for. Right? Okay, now let's hit to the next one, right? The bottom line, guys, pressure breaks the performance. If you're a failure, and you might not think it. A lot of people I work with athletes, right? A lot of them overthinking, lack of confidence, they're inconsistent. They don't execute, right? In the back of their mind, I used to work with this one athlete, right? In the back of his mind, this kid was playing basketball. He was a great basketball player. And his mom said, you're going to be just like your dad. You're going to be in jail. She said this to him all the time. Guess where the kid ended up? Of course, in jail. Or we have a kid, right? I had this one kid that I'm working with right now. He's a pitcher. He was throwing pretty good in high school, right? And he got like 10 pitching coaches. And they told him how to do the slide, how to throw this and throw that. But he has 10 different coaches showing him. And what he's doing right now, he overthink. I said, man, you're overthinking, man. Calm down. You're just overthinking. A lot of you guys have these people, these coaches or these workers who want to work you well, but you're overthinking. Or we get the third one, lack of confidence. You work, but then somehow, in some way, what takes place, you get lack of confidence, meaning that you don't believe you can do it. Right? But here's a sad thing about it. You've done it in the past. So we have two different pictures, what I call the dual dragons. We have one picture that is a new person and we know you and you have done it, but you forget about it, but we play the old picture, right? So my number one goal is, okay, to figure out when a lack of confidence come in, to see have you ever done it in the past, and to rewire that brain so we can actually make you actually become confident again. And of course, it's inconsistency, right? Does this make sense? Yes or yes? Beautiful. This is not a motivational talk. It's not getting motivation. It's conditioning. Or let me put it down there. It is rewiring your brain for success. Right? Now, I know a lot of you guys have seen the Olympics. So these people practice for 4 years, but they just don't practice. You know what they do? They have different coaches. They have a mindset coach. They have a weightlifting coach. They have all these coaches to condition them. Condition them what? For that one thing, to win that gold medal, to be successful. Right? Are you doing the exact same thing for yourself? Are you conditioning yourself for success? Are you seeing success before it happened? I was looking at Think and Grow Rich and all these great books, which I love. And they all say the exact same thing. You have to become that millionaire or that billionaire mentally before it can come inside your bank account. So how many of you guys, if you have a child who's playing sports and they want to go to a D1, or you're a salesperson who want to be the number one, or a business person who want to go to that next level, how many of you guys are doing it mentally? Are you doing that mental conditioning to condition that brain for success? Does that make sense? Here's why most coaching fail. And I'm going to take it first for sports, right? Most folks, they train the body, but they ignore the mind. They give motivation, but they don't give they don't give strategies. Does that make sense? So here is the question that I have. It's for you, right? When you are training when most kids train, they train their body. And I see these kids, they go up to the gym, they train their bodies. There's one guy, I was at the gym today, right? I said to him, man, you train this, what are you training for? Fine. I said, visualize it. He said, what do you mean? Visualize like you already done it. And we did it about 3 or 4 times, and then he did it. All right. I says, you need to start training your brain. There's one kid, he played for the professional basketball overseas. And I said, are you training your brain the same way that you train your body? Right? And of course he's not. But here it goes, business people. Are you training your body as well as your mind? So, are you working out? Are you doing these little small things? Are you working out? Are you eating right? But let me go back. Are you training your brain? Are you seeing yourself as being the number one sales guy? Are you seeing yourself being a big business person, Fortune 500 company? Are you doing these things, right? Because that's why most people, they just coach on the mechanics and the physical part. Like, for example, sales training. ones that I used to go to. They teach you how to do the sales training part about it, and they give you the mechanics. And or else they give you the techniques, but they don't give you the mental conditioning, how to train your brain. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Come on, guys. Thank you so much. I got a yes, or I can feel a yes. Right? Now, let me break down what I call is my BSSM model. Right? My BSSM model, let me tell you how I got it. So I used to work in the mental health field since 87, almost 40 years now. So anyway, I used to work there, and when I used to work there at the time, I think I left back in 2007, 2006, we had the DSM-4. The DSM-4 was to diagnose your issues, right? And if you're schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever that is, right? OC, whatever, right? So what I came up with was the BSSM model, right? And I didn't want to label anybody because I didn't like that. Because I was labeled as being retarded and not graduating 8th grade. I didn't like that part, right? So I wanted to come up with something different to actually make sure that people can actually succeed. So I focus on the BSSM. First is the business foundation. The symptoms, systemize and monetize, right? So I'm going to go back and forth, guys. Business, sports. Sports-wise, foundation. There's no identity, right? Identity is huge for sports as well as even for as performance. There's no identity, right? But for business, you have no structure. So imagine us in your business. We're like, you build a big, beautiful business, a building, the architecture. That's not us. What we are is a civil engineer. We work on the structure. We work on the foundation to make your business grow. Does that make sense? If you have bad structure, it's not going to work, right? Most of these people in business, they know about business, they know about their passion, what they do, but they don't know how to run a business. So they have, so their structure is not well. Or it could be in sales, right? Sales part of it, yeah, they can sell, but they have no system, right? And they don't have an identity, right, to make that happen. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? So that's the foundation part. The symptoms part, if you're an athlete, the symptoms part is mental block. So is business too. Symptoms part is, if you have a mental block, you have a mental block, right? It is not going to actually take place. In business, when I see symptoms, I see what's your leadership style? What's the culture of the business? Team building and mental health, burnout, right? Stress, mental health issues, addictions. Your symptoms is going to dictate your business. Let's go backwards. Your systems is going to dictate your sports. If you're playing sports, or your kids playing sports. If they have these vices, it's going to be hard for them to move forward. Systemized. In sports, you guys have no structure. Just play the game and hope to God it works. In business, we systemize 3 areas. We systemize, of course, your sales process. Right? You have to systemize that. Time management. And we also do marketing. We do educational marketing. We educate a person. We don't just market to them. Right? Does that make sense, everybody? And last but not least, we do monetize. And monetize for an athlete, right? It's just no opportunity. For a business, we monetize a couple of things, guys. We monetize what we call profit stations. We monetize your EBITDA, where it's at, and we try to crush it down to a savings. So most companies, we can save between 15 to 33%, right? And we look at every of your cogs that you're spending, and then most of the companies that work with us, we probably focus on 3 to 5 cogs that we can actually work with. Most of them are like merchant account, shipping, retirement, insurance, those type of things. We can reduce it by 15 to 33%, right? So that's, to me, is the BSSM model. And that works as well as for if your kid is an athlete, right? Or if you're a business person. Fair enough? Fabulous. My next thing about it, guys, and you guys know this, once you fix your mind, everything changes. It's almost like you are a completely new person. The mind changes everything. You focus differently, you act differently, you behave differently. Why? Because you change that mind. You change it from, okay, I might can make it, or change it to I can make it, or I have made it. Or else what we do is I have what we call is a teleport method. We go, it's a pretty cool concept. We go in the future, and then we changes everything, right? So it's almost like timeline, and to actually make sure that we actually create it. But when you change the mind, everything changes. The D1 blueprint, the four pillars: identity, condition, execution, and then is opportunity, right? This is the same word where you guys lay it as a business person. What is your identity? Who do you think of that you are? If I say, who are you? What would you say? Would you say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire? Would you say that, I'm a father, I'm a mother? What would you say? Condition. I condition your mind and your body. Working out to me is a must. I tell people I work out 6 days a week because that's a must, right? But I have to also condition my brain as well. Fair enough? Fabulous. Identity, guys. Who do you believe of that you are? What's your confidence level? What's your self-image? Right? What's your internal standards, right? Who are you? Here's a big thing about it is when you walk in a room, your identity show. I walk in the room, I go to the gym, right? They say, what's up, OG? I start laughing. Or those guys call me sir. And I look at them like, okay, all right. And I laugh at them and say, and how you folks doing, right? Because I work on, a lot of times, my confidence, self-image, right? I work on those things, right? It's a concept. Because if you can't work on yourself, how can you work on anybody else? You have to be effective. Conditioning. What are you doing for the mental reps? What are you doing? Are you visualizing? Are you pressure training? Right. And I worked with this athlete, and he was playing baseball, right? And he's not playing, and he's doing a great job. And he said, Coach, I'm not playing that much. I said, let's do pressure training. He said, what's pressure training? It's training. I said, act like that you won't play the whole year. He says, are you kidding me? I said, no. Act like you're not playing the whole year. But when you're in the game, when working around your people, guess what happens? He says, we still cheer them on. We still do whatever takes place. I says, and now you're not giving your hopes up high. Now we still practice just like we're, the best of the best, right? But it's just the mindset thing. And if you can have a pressure training like that, and you can still perform in practice and everything else, you're good to go, right? And business, pressure training to me, it's not like you're not going to make no money for 3 months, right? And if that's the case, what would you do and how can you navigate yourself through that? Now, let's hope that never takes place, but if it does, you're ready for it. Or I see these people who are entrepreneurs, which is a beautiful thing. I see people who work a 9 to 5, which is a different thing. A 9 to 5 person does not understand what a person who's working, who's an entrepreneur is. Mindset's completely different. An entrepreneur, they got to pressure train. They don't know when unless they have retainers coming through, they don't have the retainers coming in, they have to pressure train themselves. Because you have to still keep inside the game. Is that fair enough? Beautiful. Execution. Focus on your pressure. Decision making. Consistency. Right? And for example, athletes, they miss a shot. Salesperson, they don't close. Leaders avoid a decision. Execution's everything. An opportunity. Here it goes for athletes. Coaches don't recruit potential. They recruit this performance, mindset, identity, who you are. Business is the exact same way. When you're hiring a salesperson, when you're hiring a CEO, when you're hiring X, Y, and Z, right? You look at you embody everything, not just one thing. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Beautiful. Case study. So, as you guys know that about my case study, I'm going with the case study. I was working with this kid from USC pitcher. Right? When he came to me, so let me go back. I've been knowing him since he was a sophomore in high school. We go to the same gym. He knows mom, knows dad, know everybody else. Right? And he came to me. He says, you need some help. I said, what's going on, bro? He says, I'm at USC, man. In high school, I was the bomb. I was the bomb. I said, okay. So what about now? He says, I'm not like I was in high school. I said, high school and college is completely different. He said, yeah, I know this, but he said, that should be almost the same. I said, well, yes, right? And I said, well, so what's going on? He says, I just can't do what I'm supposed to be doing. I said, okay. I said, well, that makes sense, right? So I started coaching him. Right? I said that he was not playing that much. He was not doing, and this was last year, right? He was not playing that much. He was not doing that much at all, right? So what I started doing is what I call is NBC, Neuro Business Conditioning, or most people call it NLP, Neuro Linguistic Program, right? So I started conditioning himself mentally, right? And what I figured out was, I said, okay, when you were back in high school, when you threw that freaking ball, what did you say to yourself? And he told me what he said. I'm the bomb. I'm the greatest. No one's gonna hit the smoke. I said, all right, that's cool. I said, what are you saying now? I said, I could give up. So I went through what we call our submodalities. The visual, the auditorial, the kinesthetic, the whole 9 yards, and figured out what he did. Now, what he did in the past, what he did right now was completely different. I said, what's the difference? He says, it's not high school. I'm not the man no more. I said, okay, all right, okay. So I said, I get it. I understand it. So we trained with this process for about 30 days, get him that, and the switch patterns. They're doing all different techniques, figuring out where he was at so I can understand him a whole lot better. He was telling me some information, throwing some stuff down, but I have to tell you one small thing. This kid was amazing. He was almost like I was his boxing coach. Everything I said, he did. He didn't question me or anything. Love him, love him, love him. So, man, this kid was like on it. We were going through this stuff. And I said, are you playing? He said, and he was playing every once in a while, but nothing much. So one day, he had to play Ohio State. And I talk about this guy so much. His name is Andrew Harbor, right? And he's playing against Ohio State, right? They put him in. 7th inning. Bases loaded. 2 people on. He was on. And he said, yeah, coach, I walked up there. He said, I was a beast. I think he did like 7 or 8 strikeouts in a row. And he said, yeah, man, no one can hit my smoke. And he was a beast. He won the game. Right? And everyone was saying, well, what's the difference? I said it, honest with you. Physically, he was great. Mentally, he just needed some help. My job was to figure out where he was at his best at his mental state. And to get him there. And then I got him there. And of course, we also, he had so many pitching coaches. We got his velocity up a little bit higher than is not where it needs to be at, but it will. I mean, great kid. I'll give you another one, sales guy. Talking to a sales guy, the top guy's making about $30,000 a month. He's making $6,000 a month, inconsistent. It's the same process, mental process. I put him in state, figure out what's going on mentally, X, Y, and Z. Performed. He was doing just as well as the other guy. Business people, consistently, same concept, focus on the mental conditioning part of it. You went from, was it $5 million to $2 million in 8 months? But I tell people up front, when I get a person to that state, that huge jump, it's right here. It's mindset. Everything's mental for me. So for me, I look at what they're doing and their mindset. What are they saying to themselves, the whole 9 yards, so I can figure the whole thing out, come up with a system and a plan. We repeat it. They have to do their homework, which they do, and they get successful. Now, I don't want to make it as that easy, because it's take a person who's coachable, someone who wants to actually learn from the stuff to do the exact same thing. Is that fair enough? Beautiful. And what actually changed, guys, is identity completely changed. This kid won for Ohio State, man. He thought he was like Jesus. He thought he could walk on water, right? The business guy went from $5 million to $10 million in 8 months, and he tripled his net profit. Man, he thought he was just so identity changed completely, and the structure of conditioning changed as well. In the confidence under pressure, he was a completely different person. I tell you what it was. I got it. I love this. These people went from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It was like a metamorphosis. It was a change. Completely change. And they changed their identity. From caterpillar to butterfly, they changed their identity completely. They changed the way they look, the way they sound, the way they act. Why? Because now it's just not the physical part for these athletes, it's the mental game. Now, for business people, I hate to tell you guys, most guys better work on the physical part as well as the mental part. Because physically, you have to be there physically working out. And I tell people, business owners, if you don't work out 4, 5, 6 days a week, it's going to be a challenge. But mentally, you got to work out as well. Because we have to have that execution at that key moment where you can show up each and every time. Does that make sense? Guys, same system, right? Athletes, leaders, sales, perform, execute, close. It's a crossover, right? Same system, same success. The same thing I went with the athlete from UFC, the professional players of that coach, the leaders who went from $5 million to $10 million. Almost, we had a leader who went from 300,000 to 9 million in 3 years. Sales guys, double, triple their sales, right? The exact same system. No, there's nothing different. The only difference is one the athletes that get to a D1 hopefully is professional, right? Or if not, the big league, not the NBA and NFL, they play overseas, right? A leader, now they execute, is completely different. So it's the same system for business as well as for athletes. Yeah. Does that make sense? So you don't have a talent problem at all. Nothing. You guys are putting in the reps, doing everything else. It is a performance issue. It's a mindset shift. You haven't worked on that mindset to make sure that you can go further faster. You've worked on that mindset to understand that you're only about this far off if you have the right person that can pull you toward that next level. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Beautiful. Nothing changed until you do. That's pretty much, you'll keep doing the same thing. Or better yet, though, I got another one. What is the definition of insanity? If you're saying doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, absolutely right. So it's not going to change until you do. So, guys, it goes take action right now. For athletes, guys, focus on this. If you're a parent, you have athletes, and you guys want them to go to that next level, and I tell all these athletes, if you're playing, man, get a scholarship. Get half of it, get full. It's good. It's get a full ride, right? And then I show you how to perform mentally. And now with my athlete, the program is pretty cool, right? What we do is I set these athletes up into owning their own business. Parents will love this. When they're owning their own business, it's like if they're playing baseball or basketball, whatever, that's what they own. We get them a business license, right? And then we give them like an e-commerce. We get them this e-commerce, right? Now they're selling their jersey, their own work. And we have a program based on all this stuff, right? That's pretty cool. Now we show them how to run a business the right way. Now we focus on the mental training, but here's the cool thing about it is when they run the business the right way, they know what their mom and dad is doing, behind the scenes, right? Now they know how to run a business. They know what revenue is, and what gross profit is, and what net profit is. They know sales, they know what marketing. Because why? I teach them. I teach these kids this, right? Now when they're playing their sports, it's a completely different mindset. It's a whole different concept of the whole thing. Now they're training completely differently, right? So that's what it is. And then if they're like, if they're a decent player, man, I can get them. And then we have stuff for life coaching. We also have stuff for to train them for school grades. We have this program got everything for these kids right here. It's phenomenal. It's a beautiful thing, right? So that's what we have for the athletes, business owners, leaders, salespeople. We have another cool program, guys, right? Leadership is performance and systems. We execute in consistency, revenue growth and mindset. Now, this one's pretty cool. We have the business side of it. We have the sales side of it. Business owners are going to love this. We have every quarter we meet. It could be in a different city. We also do a teen program as well, from 9 years old to 24 years old. A weekend program for them. The business owners, you guys get a program for you during the week. My outcome is to have the business and the family together. A lot of times when these programs, you see just the business, but you're not running the family well. This way, we run them both simultaneously. Great. Now, if you don't have a family, that's fine. You might have vendors who have kids, right? Bring them in. Let me tell you, they'll love you to death because now as you're looking out for them, right? Here are the websites for the athletes one, right? It's sports.pnbc group. That's pnbcgroup.com. That's for the sports one. And that one, guys, we put a business in there for these people, for these athletes, so they can now monetize and have their own business. For the business owners and leaders, another group for you guys. It's you, as in Uranus, Beauty, Goat, Paul.pnbcgroup.com. Right? This one we have is for business and sales. We even have in this one on the business owner one, estate planning core program. We have a lot of different ones for the estate planning part, and we also work for parents and teens. So, guys, if you guys are serious, I'm looking for about 5 good people, 5 spots that's open for each program. And I believe, without a doubt, that you go further faster in this program is phenomenal. So, do you guys have any questions for me before I take off? So, I want to tell you guys, I had fun. I had fun talking about growing up with all these great athletes that I had a privilege of working with and talking to, right? So, do anybody have any questions or any concerns? Guys, let me tell you, I want to see you guys on the other side. Until the next time, take care. And dare to make this day, this week, this month, magnificent. Bye for now.